Salesforce, huh? They're kind of the big cheese, right? The top dog in software.
Yeah, they've got their paws in a lot of different areas these days.
But here's the thing. Things are about to get, well, a little more interesting. We're diving into some juicy Wall Street insider stuff, whispers about what's really going on behind the scenes, like the stuff they don't put in the press releases.
I love a good Wall Street whisper. What have we got?
Okay, so picture this. We've got a Deutsche Bank research note, right? Fresh off the presses. And we've got this really interesting analysis from JP Morgan. And get this, we even got our hands on an expert call transcript from Wells Fargo. Insider baseball, my friend.
Okay, you've piqued my interest. Let's break it down.
Let's unpack this. First up, Salesforce is on a shopping spree. They're going all in and fully absorbing own company, that data protection outfit they already had a piece of.
Right. I remember hearing about that.
So Deutsche Bank is calling it a smart move, and for a good reason. We are living in the age of AI and data security. It's not just a checkbox anymore, it's everything.
It's the price of admission, right? You can't even talk about AI without addressing the security piece.
Exactly. And Deutsche Bank is kind of hinting that this could be, well, bad news for own companies' rivals. Companies like Rubrik and Cohesity, those guys, they might be feeling a little pressure now.
Oh, yeah, I bet they are. This has power play written all over it. Makes you wonder, is Salesforce playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers? Are they going for total domination in data security?
Right. It makes you think. Because whoever controls the data controls, well, everything in this AI-driven world. And this acquisition, this could be a really big step in that direction.
Agreed. This story's just getting started.
Okay, so enough about the chess match. Let's talk about something everyone loves to talk about. Demand. So JP Morgan had a little chat with a Salesforce partner, and they're feeling cautiously optimistic,
Cautiously optimistic. That's Wall Street code for we're not sure what's going to happen.
Pretty much. But the first half of the year, they said it was, quote, quite tough. But, and this is key, they are seeing some glimmers of hope.
No, but here's where we got to put on our analyst hats for a sec. This partner, what kind of businesses do they work with? What industry are they in?
Good point. They're based in the UK, and they mainly deal with consumer-facing businesses.
So their experience might not be representative of the entire Salesforce universe.
Right.
It's one little piece of a much bigger puzzle.
Exactly. You're thinking like a true analyst. And speaking of different perspectives, the Wells Fargo expert call, it paints a bit of a different picture. They're saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, that demand is still a bit of a head-scratcher, and even the allure of these shiny new AI toys isn't exactly leading to, those big fat contracts.
It's tough out there. Even with all the AI hype, the macro environment still matters. Budgets are tight. People are hesitant.
It's like trying to sell a luxury cruise during a hurricane, right?
Great, I like that.
It's a tough market for sure. But speaking of AI, we got to talk about Agentforce. It's Salesforce's big bet, right? Their big play in the AI game. That JP Morgan partner we talked about, the one in the UK, they seem to see the potential, but...
But there's always a but.
Well, they had some questions. Pricing, of course. I mean, who doesn't worry about pricing? But they also mentioned something interesting, the whole implementation thing. Like, How do you actually put this AI magic to work in the real world?
The age-old question.
Yeah.
How do we get this shiny new tech to play nice with our existing systems? It's never as simple as they'd like it to be.
Exactly. And the Wells Fargo expert, they were even more, shall we say, unconvinced. They pretty much said there's no guarantee customers are going to line up to pay for these AI bells and whistles, especially if they don't see the return on investment.
Yeah, nobody wants to buy a pig in a poke. They want to see results, tangible benefits.
Speaking of results, remember that JP Morgan partner? They mentioned something about how Salesforce is pushing hard to integrate AI into its CPQ software. Yeah, configure, price, quote. The stuff sales teams use to put together deals, it can get super complicated, apparently.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like trying to navigate a labyrinth of spreadsheets and pricing tiers.
Right. So imagine this. AI swoops in and analyzes all that data in real time. It's like having a superpowered assistant whispering the optimal product configuration and pricing for each customer.
Okay, that does sound kind of cool. Less time drowning in data, more time closing deals.
Exactly. Faster quotes, happier customers, potentially bigger deals. Everyone wins.
In theory, sure. But let's not forget, technology is only as good as the people using it.
True. And you need a good strategy to back it up. But it's not just about sales, The Wells Fargo expert mentioned that this whole AI-driven efficiency thing is shaking things up in other departments too, like software development.
Really? How so?
They specifically mentioned this big project in the oil and gas industry. Apparently, they're using AI to speed up software updates and even shift personnel from pricey locations like Houston to more cost-effective hubs like India.
So AI is playing musical chairs with global workforces now.
It's like AI is redrawing the map of the global economy in real time. But it makes you wonder, right? What does all this mean for the future of jobs? I mean, Salesforce's CEO has even gone on record saying that AI will make call centers a thing of the past.
Well, that's a bold statement. I'm not sure I'd go that far.
It's definitely provocative. But is it realistic?
It's certainly got people talking. And while AI is undoubtedly changing how we work, I tend to agree with the Wells Fargo expert on this one. They were pretty skeptical about AI completely replacing humans, especially in roles that require, empathy, complex decision-making, that human touch.
Makes sense. You can't automate everything. You still need that human connection, especially in certain industries.
Exactly. The real opportunity, at least for now, seems to be more about AI augmenting human capabilities rather than replacing them entirely.
Right. It's like instead of aiming for these fully autonomous AI robots, the focus should be on giving human workers AI-powered tools.
Tools that help them be more productive, more accurate, and ultimately more effective.
Like a bionic suit for your brain.
Exactly.
But okay, let's loop back to something we touched on earlier.
Wow.
This whole idea that Salesforce, as big and powerful as they are, might be vulnerable, that they could be disrupted, especially with all these smaller, more agile competitors popping up and using AI as their secret weapon.
It's the classic tale, isn't it? The disruptor becomes the disrupted. Salesforce shook things up by challenging the status quo, but now they're the ones who need to watch their backs.
It's like they're starring in a sequel to their own movie, but this time they're the ones who might get overthrown. Remember when Mark Benioff realized that those clunky old software systems were ripe for disruption? That's the position Salesforce could be in now.
It's true. History has a funny way of repeating itself. The question is, can Salesforce adapt? Can they stay nimble, or will they become a victim of their own success? Bogged down by bureaucracy and outdated systems.
And let's be honest, the Wells Fargo expert did point out some potential cracks in the facade. They said there are already signs that Salesforce is struggling to stay agile.
Like what?
Well, apparently there are different cloud offerings, things like Marketing Cloud, Sales Cloud, and Tableau. They're not exactly playing nicely together. The integration isn't as seamless as it could be.
The Frankenstein syndrome.
Yeah.
Too many different parts, not enough cohesive whole.
Exactly. And that lack of integration, it creates a clunky experience for customers.
Especially when you compare it to the sleek, integrated experiences that those nimble AI startups are building.
It's like trying to drive a sports car with the parking brake on. You can still get where you need to go, but it's not going to be pretty.
And you're going to fall behind everyone else on the open road.
Right. And here's the kicker. The Wells Fargo expert even went so far as to say that a smaller, hungrier CRM company, maybe even a HubSpot, could use AI to swoop in and deliver a better experience.
That would be a major upset, but not entirely out of the realm of possibility.
It sounds like Salesforce is at a crossroads, right? They're putting a lot of chips on AI, but they risk being outmaneuvered by companies that are moving faster, leaner.
It all comes down to execution. Can Salesforce adapt? Or will they become another cautionary tale?
It's a classic case of innovate or die. Salesforce made their name by disrupting the old guard, and now they need to disrupt themselves if they want to stay on top.
Disrupt or be disrupted.
This AI revolution is changing everything, and it's fascinating to watch it all unfold, especially for a company like Salesforce. It's like we're watching a tech thriller unfold in real time, Acquisitions, demand signals, AI shaking things up. It's a lot to process.
That's the tech world for you. Never a dull moment, but hey, that's what makes it so exciting, right?
Absolutely. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
But speaking of exciting, let's talk about Data Cloud for a sec, because our Wells Fargo expert, they had this really interesting take on it. They basically asked, is Data Cloud actually solving a real problem for customers, or is Salesforce just trying to squeeze another product onto their already massive shelf?
It's the eternal question, isn't it? Are you building something people actually need? Or are you just adding to the noise?
Right. And in the case of Data Cloud, it's even trickier because Salesforce is going up against some heavy hitters.
Oh, yeah. Snowflake, Databricks. Those guys aren't messing around. They're playing in a different league when it comes to data.
Exactly. Salesforce might have the name recognition and the customer base, but can they compete with that level of, pure data expertise? It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight.
It's a David and Goliath situation for sure.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, David's got a PhD in data science and a boatload of cash.
Right. They're not underestimating the competition. But honestly, I got the feeling that our Wells Fargo expert wasn't totally sold on Salesforce's AI pitch either. They even went there, They started talking about a future where CRM as we know it, the whole concept,
Becomes obsolete.
pretty much. Like, what if AI becomes so smart that it can handle most of the stuff that CRM systems are supposed to do?
It's a wild thought, right? Like, what happens if AI can automate all the things?
Right. Imagine automatically logging customer interactions, generating those sales forecasts, personalizing those marketing campaigns.
And suddenly you don't need a massive CRM system anymore.
Exactly. Our expert actually said that if AI gets that good, the real value might not be in CRM anymore. It'll be in the underlying data itself. Companies like Snowflake, the ones who are already masters of data, they become even more powerful.
That's a pretty radical shift. From CRM being the center of the universe to the data itself being the star of the show.
Right. It's like instead of Salesforce being the conductor of the orchestra, they become just another instrument in the band.
It makes you think, are they ready for that kind of change?
It's a great question. And it's a question that every company, not just Salesforce, needs to be asking themselves right now. So here's the takeaway, folks. Don't assume that the big players today are going to stay on top forever. The tech world changes fast, and AI is driving a lot of that change.
So keep an eye on those up-and-coming companies, the ones who are laser-focused on using AI to solve real problems.
And don't be afraid to question the status quo, even if it comes from a company as big as Salesforce. The future of tech belongs to the curious, the critical thinkers, and the ones who are ready to adapt. Because in the age of AI, the only constant is change. And on that note, that's a wrap on this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.